Hey guys, my name is Gloria and welcome to my first book review on this channel. I've chosen a specific book for today and there's a reason I've chosen that. So back in 2018 I wanted to start a book blog, I wanted to read more books and I needed a good book to review first on my blog, and it just so happened that I was looking through Twitter and I found an Irish writer that was about to come out with a horror book set in Ireland, which right up my street. So I followed her. It turned out she was having a book launch the next week. I went to it. It was in the Gutter Bookshop, which is an indie bookshop in Ireland, which is fantastic. You should go there if you're ever in Dublin. She came out with her first book, which was good. It had a creepy tree on it. It's all gnarly and weird. It's called Dark Wood, Dark Water by Tina Callaghan. I really like this one. It was a YA horror. I'll link the review down below on my blog, but that was the first one I reviewed on the blog, and then a month ago I just put up kind of a joke tweet that my brain kept telling me to do things that I definitely shouldn't do, like start a podcast, which not with this voice, but I also said that it was telling me to start a YouTube channel like this, but clearly that was impossible because I can't talk to cameras or anything. But this author, Tina Callghan, was actually the first person to comment saying that she would actually watch my videos if I made them, and that for good or bad it started a little fire in my brain, and that's one of the reasons that I posted my first video last week. So I thought it was fitting that I reviewed her first book on the blog, and I'm reviewing her second book on the YouTube channel. This is Daughter of the Storm, and I love the cover. I mean, I love the creepy tree in the first one. I love creepy trees, but this cover is beautiful. I kind of going for a blue aquamarine look today, as you can see. Well, there you go. So that was the disclaimer. You might think that it's easy to review a book when you know the author or you want to promote someone's work. It's actually super hard because you obviously want to buy it so that you can support them, but then you're afraid to read it because if it's terrible, you'll know that it's terrible, but also you're afraid that they're going to ask you what you thought of it, and you'll either have to tell them I didn't read it, or you're going to have to tell them what you thought of it, and that's never good. But thankfully this book was fantastic. So the main premise of the book is that Leah, a 16-year-old girl from New York, is living with her mother, and a few months previous to the story her dad fell from a cliff in his home village, which is in a little island off the coast of Ireland, and everyone tells her it's intentional, but it doesn't seem to fit with what she knew of her dad, even though her parents were having a rocky time in their marriage and everything. But she's not moving on as fast as her mother would like her to move on. Her mother wants her to go to college, even though she's only 16. That seems weird to me. But she doesn't know what she actually wants to do yet, so she decides to just up and leave and go to this tiny little island. And there she meets her dad's brother, Harry, who owns the only pub there, which in itself is a bit weird, you know. Even a population of 15 people should have at least 3 pubs in Ireland. That's pretty much the law. She goes and stays with her uncle, and they get on so well so fast because he's so like her dad, and she starts to wander around the island. She meets other islanders and tries to get a sense of where her dad grew up, why he was the way he was, and why he did what he supposedly did. Obviously, in this time she meets a 18-year-old Ed. He's a cutie. He's a photographer on the island, which his dad doesn't like. His dad prefers punching him in the face to anything else, but it's one of those typical, you're not allowed to leave the island, you should stay here and take over the farm type deals that I think a lot of rural people understand. But Ed wants to leave the island, he wants to go off and be a photographer and stuff. But that's sort of the tension in the story a lot. There's a huge theme of migration, which is obviously very Irish, of young people leaving and old people being left with no one to give their inheritance to, or their land or their farm to. But obviously this is a horror novel, so there's something darker on the island, and when she tries to go out at night, when she tries to go out after dark, she gets the sense that she shouldn't do that. No matter how small the community is, no matter how it seems like it might be safe, it's definitely not safe. There's something between the men and women on the island. The men know something, and the women know they know something, but the men, in typical old Irish man fashion, they're keeping their lips shut, they don't talk about it. It's not women's business, you deal with the kids, we'll deal with whatever the hell's going on here. And it's called Out of the Storm because every winter on this island there are storms. There's a lot of talk about ships being wrecked on the Devil's Teeth, the rocks near the island, and at the beginning it seems like everyone's kind of battening down the hatches for a storm, but then as the storm doesn't approach, you get the sense that the islanders aren't happy about this. Like, the islanders want there to be a storm, they're waiting for the storm needs to happen for some reason, but you're not sure why yet. And some people leave the island because of the storm. There's a lot of talk of mainlanders trying to buy houses on the island and then selling them immediately once winter hits because they can't stand the harsh reality of living on the island. And that's one of the things I absolutely loved about this book, is the setting. The setting was described so perfectly. The island itself is almost a personality. There's a looming hall that sort of casts a shadow on the whole island, and people kind of avoid it. And even that has a personality. The island has a personality. The sea has a personality, and the way that Tina describes the weather, the way that she describes life on the island and the island itself, it was just, I was there, I was enthralled, I loved it. And it's from the moment that she gets to the island, and it's peppered throughout the entire book, through the dialogue, through the metaphors, through everything, and I love that. That's a fantastic way to actually set up a book and set up a story. It did, I mean, this is kind of a cliche thing to say, but it did kind of remind me of House on Haunted Hill, the way that Shirley Jackson described the house as though it had a personality. She clearly took from that kind of vein of writing, and I love it. That's the best way to do things, I think. So the actual story is fantastic. I really like Leah. I thought her and Ed's blossoming relationship was really, it was realistic. It happened pretty quickly, but the way that it's written, it wasn't crazy. It made sense with these two teenagers on this island. They're the youngest people on the island as well. There is a pregnant woman, but other than that, 16 and 18 are the youngest people on the island. And the relationship between Leah and her uncle, it started off really positively, really quickly as well, but that seemed natural too. And I just liked this book. I liked everything about this book. I read it in one day. I started it on really late on Thursday night and I was really tired, and I thought I'd just read one chapter to see what I was getting into, and I was just, whoa. I read it all the next day at work and after work, and it's just, you read it in one sitting. It's less than 300 pages, but it's it's rich. It's rich in detail. You really get a sense of the entire island, the history of the island, the history of the people, Leah and her parents, and all the relationships. And there is obviously a darkness on the island. There's a secret, there's something being hidden, and I really try and get ahead of twists and stuff in stories and movies and books, but I had absolutely no idea what was coming with this. I was gobsmacked at the end of the book, and yeah, it was a satisfying ending. It was. It ends quite abruptly. It kind of ends when the survivors are metaphorically walking away from the explosion, let's say. There were no loose ends. There was nothing I was confused about, nothing that I needed to know more of, but maybe I would have liked just a tiny little epilogue or something, just to see where those last survivors went or how they dealt with it, whatever. But other than that, I mean, this is 5 stars from me. I'm already going to say that this is one of the best books that I've read in 2020. I know it's not even the first week of January, but this is going to be on my 2020 list. If I read 20 more books that are better than this, I mean, well done to those writers too. But no, this one's fantastic. You should absolutely check this out. I'll be reading this again. I'll be keeping it on my shelf along with Dark Wood, Dark Water. Quite a size difference between the two. There's a gothic element to this as well. A lot of it did remind me of The Woman in Black, because it's just that cold, miserable kind of setting that was set in England, but it was, you know, it was near the water, near the sea, and it kind of had that same tiny village where people know something and the outsiders trying to figure out what the hell everyone's looking at them weird for. So it kind of reminded me of that. I really like that part of it as well. This is fantastic. I can't say it. I don't think it's strictly YA horror. I think any adult would enjoy this as well. It's fantastically written. There's nothing too out there that you wouldn't give it to a 14-year-old, but you'd also read it at 30 and it would be fantastic. You know, like Stephen King books have a lot of teenagers and young people in them, but they're still adult books as well. So I think anyone would love this. I'm looking forward to more from Tina Callaghan. I haven't actually looked up the story. She was published in anthologies with Stephen King, Dean Koontz, Ray Bradbury. I'm gonna look up that story as well. But I'm looking forward to more books from her in the future because this was fantastic. Daughter of the Storm. And obviously it's, as a writer myself, seeing an Irish woman write like that, fantastic motivator, also kind of terrifying because that's the standard that I have to live up to. I can't be lazy. I have to actually try and be a good writer. But that's pushing me to write better, and I'm actually going to do some writing today to try and make up for that. And I'm going to be looking at some of her passages to try and emulate them as best I can in my own writing. Let me know down below what your favorite Irish horror story is, who your favorite Irish author is. Let me know if you have any recommendations for me that might be similar to that, or Irish writers that you know that I may never have heard of, because I don't know them all. So yeah, I'm kind of hoping to upload every Monday. We'll see how that goes. There's going to be more book reviews. I'm going to a writer's retreat in Wales next month, so I'm hoping to get a video from that. And I have a few other events coming up in the summer that are writing book related that I hope to get some videos from. And I'll have plenty more reviews. I have a few challenges in mind as well, a few weird things that I might try reading, and I'll be back hopefully next Monday as well. You can expect a video from me. If you've gotten this far, thank you so much. Like and subscribe down below if you like what I'm doing here, and I'll see you in the next video.